The first time Henry saw it, he thought it was a trick of the light. He had been lying on his back in the grass behind his house, watching the clouds drift lazily across the sky. It was a warm afternoon, the kind where the air shimmered just above the pavement, and cicadas buzzed in the trees. He liked looking for shapes in the clouds, a dragon here, a ship there. But then, in the middle of the blue expanse, he noticed something wrong. A spot. It was small, barely noticeable, but once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. A black dot, like a stain on the sky. It didn't move with the clouds, didn't shift or break apart like the others. It just sat there, unmoving, a smudge of darkness in the otherwise perfect blue. Henry blinked, rubbed his eyes, looked again. Still there. He sat up, suddenly uneasy. He glanced around to see if anyone else had noticed, but the backyard was empty. His mother was inside, and his older brother Jake was out with his friends. Henry turned his eyes back to the sky, half expecting the spot to be gone. It wasn't. Something about it made his stomach twist, though he couldn't explain why. It wasn't like a bird or a plane. It didn't move. It didn't make sense. He tried to ignore it, but as the afternoon stretched on, he kept glancing up, drawn to it against his will. That night at dinner, he asked his mother if she had seen anything strange in the sky. She frowned at him over her plate of spaghetti. "What do you mean?" Henry hesitated. He didn't want to sound silly. "A black spot," he said carefully. "Up in the sky. It's just there." His mother chuckled. "Maybe it's a smudge on your glasses." He pushed his plate away. "I'm serious. It's really there." Jake, sitting across from him, rolled his eyes. "Maybe an alien is watching you." He made a spooky ooh sound, and Henry scowled. Their mother sighed. "I'm sure it's nothing, sweetheart. Maybe a plane left a trail or something." Henry knew it wasn't a trail. He had watched it for hours, and the longer he looked, the more certain he became. Something about it wasn't right. That night, lying in bed, he found himself staring at his ceiling, unable to sleep. He felt a strange pull, a nagging in the back of his mind, as if the spot was still there, just out of sight. Eventually, unable to resist, he got up and crept to the window. Outside, the sky was a deep, endless black. The moon was out, shining cold silver light over the rooftops. Henry leaned against the glass and tilted his head upward. The spot was still there, even in the night sky, darker than the darkness around it. He shivered and pulled his curtains shut. The next morning, before school, Henry ran outside and looked up. The spot was bigger, not by much, but enough to notice. It wasn't a tiny speck anymore. It had grown, maybe the size of a dime if he held it up to the sky. A deep unease settled over him. At school, he asked his friends if they had seen anything weird in the sky lately. They just gave him blank looks. He even pointed up, trying to show them. But no matter how hard he tried, they just squinted at the clouds and shook their heads. "There's nothing there, dude," one of them said. But there was. Henry could see it, and it was growing. Henry stopped telling people about the spot. No one believed him. No one could even see it. He tried pointing it out to his mother again that weekend, but she just ruffled his hair and told him to stop looking at the sun so much. But it wasn't the sun. It wasn't his eyes. It was real. And it was getting bigger. By the following Monday, it was the size of a quarter. By Wednesday, a golf ball. It wasn't round either, not exactly. The edges were uneven, ragged, like something had been burned into the sky itself. It looked wrong. Worse, when Henry stared at it for too long, he started to feel strange. It was like standing at the edge of a high place, looking down. A sensation in his stomach, a pulling, an urge to lean forward, even though he knew he shouldn't. His thoughts felt cloudy, too, like the spot was sinking into his brain, whispering something just below the edge of hearing. He didn't know what it wanted. By the end of the week, it was as big as a baseball. No one noticed, or maybe no one could. Henry spent his days sneaking glances at it, always trying to see if anyone else was looking up, if anyone else would finally say, "Hey, what is that thing?" But no one did. On Friday, during recess, he caught himself standing alone in the middle of the playground, staring at the sky. The spot loomed overhead, blotting out a patch of blue. It had depth now, a feeling of depth, anyway. Like if he could just get closer, he might be able to see inside it. He didn't want to see inside it. He tore his gaze away and ran to the far side of the yard, trying to shake the feeling that the ground under his feet was tilting ever so slightly toward the thing in the sky. That night, he had a dream. He was floating. No, not floating, falling. Upward. The black spot was above him, stretched wide, wider than the sky itself, and he was tumbling toward it, helpless. The closer he got, the more he could see. There was something inside, something moving, something waiting. He woke up gasping, the room dark and still around him. His curtains were drawn, but he felt the urge to check, to pull them back and look. He didn't. By the next morning, the spot was as big as a basketball. It didn't make sense. If it were real, someone would have noticed by now. The news would be talking about it. People would be outside pointing, taking pictures. But they weren't. No one said a word. No one acted like anything was wrong. But it was wrong. By Sunday, the spot had grown larger than a car. Henry stopped looking at it directly. He could feel it now, even without seeing it, a weight pressing against his thoughts. He locked himself in his room and refused to go outside. His mother knocked on his door around lunchtime, telling him to come eat, asking if he was feeling okay. He mumbled something about a stomachache. She sighed but didn't push. He spent the rest of the day curled in bed, staring at the wall, trying to pretend there wasn't a piece of the sky missing. That night, his brother barged in without knocking. "Dude, what is up with you?" Jake demanded. "You've been acting super weird." Henry didn't answer. Jake frowned. "Are you sick or something?" "No," Henry said. His voice was hoarse. "I just..." He hesitated. He could tell Jake, but Jake would just laugh. No one believed him. No one ever believed him. "Never mind," Henry muttered. Jake rolled his eyes. "Whatever. Just stop being creepy." He left, slamming the door behind him. Henry lay awake for a long time after that, heart pounding for no reason he could explain. Outside, through the thin curtains, the sky stretched black and empty. The hole in the sky was waiting, and it was still growing. That night, Henry couldn't sleep. The air in his room felt heavy, thick, pressing down on his chest. Even with the blankets pulled up to his chin, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He rolled onto his side, staring at the sliver of light beneath his bedroom door. The house was silent. Everyone was asleep. A faint hum filled his ears, low and constant like the distant droning of power lines. He squeezed his eyes shut. The sound wasn't coming from inside the house. It was coming from above, a deep, thrumming pulse, as if the sky itself had started to breathe. He turned his head toward the window. He had kept the curtains drawn, refusing to look outside for the past 2 days. But now he could feel it. The pull. A silent pressure against his skin, his bones, his mind. Something was there. He slid out of bed, bare feet touching the cold floor. Slowly, cautiously, he stepped toward the window, fingers trembling as they reached for the curtain. He didn't want to look, but he had to. He peeled the fabric aside. The sky was wrong. The spot was no longer just a spot. It dominated everything now, stretching across the heavens like a wound torn into the fabric of reality itself. The stars had vanished, swallowed by the gaping blackness. It wasn't just dark, it was emptiness, the absence of light, the absence of everything, and something was moving inside it. A shape, shifting, writhing, vast beyond comprehension. It wasn't just one thing, it was many. A limb, thin and impossibly long, unfolded from the void. It reached outward, stretching, groping, searching. Henry couldn't move. Another limb emerged, then another. Something was coming through. The hum grew louder. The air in his room vibrated, his bones rattling with the force of it. His vision blurred. He tried to step back, but his body wouldn't obey. A feeling, ancient, endless, hungry, pressed against his mind. The thing in the sky had noticed him. His breath caught in his throat as the limbs twisted, bending at unnatural angles, reaching down toward his house, toward him. The air crackled with unseen energy. The walls shuddered. The floor beneath him trembled. A single massive hand, its fingers longer than skyscrapers, uncurled from the void. And then it touched the earth. Everything went black.